So I said, that's where I keep my Pritt sticks.
Dylan from Teach Sleep Repeat, you're so silly.
Hey there. Didn't see you guys. Welcome back to another episode of Teach Sleep Repeat. My name is Dylan.
We knew that. My name's Hayden.
My name is Hayden. My name's Dylan. There's one of us. We're somewhere here. Have you noticed how, obviously, we've talked about before when we're in school, constantly people get our names mixed up because we're usually the only two blokes and we just come as a pair. So someone will walk up to me and say, have you seen Dylan? Yeah, I have.
50-50. Well done.
Right here. But then I was thinking about, like Brad and Angelina. When together in the media, they're like Brangelina.
Yeah.
And I've thought before about what our name would be. and it turns out, if we join Dylan and Hayden, we get Dylan. Or if we do the other way around, we get Hayden.
Wow, what a couple name.
Yeah, I know.
Brilliant.
So that's my thought for the day.
Okay.
Is if we were to ever be a couple and the media were to pick us up. So it's two things that probably will never happen. But
Well, one of them.
When the sun again.
Yeah. Not that bad.
And also with our partners' names, they're Lauren and Lauren. So if you join them, that'd be Lauren and Lauren.
God's sake.
Nothing would change.
Yeah. Anyway. Should we start recording?
Yeah. Oh, crap. We pressed record a minute ago. You've been here this whole time? Anyway, lovely to see you guys. For us, it was half term this week. Again, a big thing. I didn't know this. I thought the half terms were quite rigid. Loads of people aren't on half term till next week.
Yeah, I know. I also thought half terms were for having a break from work.
Sorry. You naive petal.
They're not.
No,
it's really weird,
not.
isn't it?
So how's your week been then? Because it has been half term.
Oh, it's been busy, isn't it?
Obviously, the whole theme of this episode is about burnout and stuff. So don't give too much away.
Yeah.
We've got our top tips on the way.
Burning out, baby.
Are you burning out, baby?
It's been busy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you know this well, because to be honest with you, half of the busyness of this week has been because we've had a massive overhaul of our website, haven't we?
Sure.
Which has taken up lots of our
Quick
time.
recap for anyone who doesn't know. Hayden and I, we do work part-time in a school, but we also run our own tutoring business outside of that, which has grown nicely over the years and something we enjoy doing, and we put a lot of our time into that as well. So what's happened then this week? As if I don't know.
With our website, would you like me to explain?
I'm playing the role of the audience. But what do you mean, Hayden?
He probably doesn't
But
know.
please be quick, because I couldn't care less. I've clicked on this for Burnout. I don't care about your business.
We have changed the layout of a big chunk of our website.
Yeah, simple
and
as
it
that.
was just a massive job. So that's been done. But in the back of my mind, the whole time I've been thinking, I do have loads of work to do for school as well, though. Loads of planning to sort out. And I've just been pushing it back and back and back. Still haven't done it. Obviously, you're listening to this on Monday. We're back at school. It's Friday when we're recording this. I've still not done it, but we'll see.
Because we can't really complain about having to do our business stuff in half term. There's no such thing as half term.
No.
Anyone out there who's teaching, a lot of teachers do like a side thing, whether it is a bit of tutoring.
Yeah.
I know some people do crafts and things and sell those. There's no such thing as time off when you're self-employed.
Yeah.
But, it is kind of frustrating, isn't it? When you think we get to the half term, you're like, okay, cool. I can rest and recoup. I can concentrate on my business. Oh, but also I've got 8 hours of planning to do. It doesn't annoy me because I know people are doing it from a good place, but there is something about when people say, stop it. Stop your plan. It's half term.
Have a break.
You just turn off and have a break. Okay, well, there'll be nothing to teach when I get back, though.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a massive chunk of planning to do, and I'm teaching it the first week. And I'm like, if it was like the second week, I'd honestly probably just leave it and be like, no, I'm half term. I'll do it when I'm back at work. Oh, man. But yeah, I've been putting it off. It was quite funny the other day when I finally sat down to do it. I was like, I've got no more excuses. Our website was pretty much done. There was a few bug fixes and stuff.
Our friend Harvey was just basically running through stuff.
Yeah, and he's been developing it for us with his company Vision Tank. And
they're great, aren't they?
They're brilliant. They've done an amazing job. Check out our website.
Yeah. www.topdogonline.co.uk.
It's really cool. And give us some feedback.
We do actually teach and stuff as well. We're not just sit and chat and bitch about stuff. we actually do teach.
We do stuff. But I finally sat down. I thought, I've got to do this planning now. I really don't want to do it. And Harvey rang me. I was like, can you jump on? We've got to do. I just got a few things I want to run through. I was like, yes, I can. Absolutely. I can do that for as long as you want. All day, baby. I don't want to do any planning. Let's do that.
It's weird, isn't it? My house gets really clean when I've got planning to do. It's odd. It's very odd.
Chores, I did feel bad though. I don't know about you, because obviously Lauren, our Laurens and our babies.
Just say Lauren singular.
Lauren,
and just encompass all of them.
That's their couple name, isn't it? So Lauren. And do we need a couple name for our babies? They both start with R. I just felt bad because I was like, oh, this is our half term. We're supposed to be doing nice stuff, and I'm just sat here working all day, every day.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, felt a bit rubbish. But other than that, how's your nursery?
Other than feeling terrible, yeah, nursery's good. It's all decorated. It's got carpet now.
Oh, I've not seen it yet.
There is a changing, it's like a changing thing on the top, but a chest of drawers underneath. I don't know what that's called, a changing console. I don't know. The crib is done, although he won't be in there for a while. I'm really struggling with the idea that he's going to have his own room soon. I know it's meant to be 6 months, and I've seen a lot of stuff lately about like basically ripping Western culture for thinking that kids have to be so independent so quickly. And the 6 month thing is just an arbitrary age, and Rory's 4.5 months now. And I'm like, 6 weeks doesn't seem like enough time for us to then let go of him and him be in his own room. I don't see a problem with him staying in our room because he's not on my side of the bed. Doesn't wake me up. No, but I don't know. There's something, both of us are a bit like,
wait, he's still in your room at 4.5 months?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, God. River was in her own room by 8 days.
Oh, my God. I'm so sorry.
Oh, God.
We do this all the time. We're comparing
I tell you what, I know we've had this conversation, but if you
well,
guys,
don't have it then.
if your parents, no, these guys need to know. If your parents, if you ever see any content on like Instagram, TikTok, whatever, about babies and children, look at the comment section.
Yeah.
They're just, oh man, people are just so horrible, aren't they?
Yeah.
So horrible all the time. Just nothing's right.
What do you mean you play with your child? Your child will become dependent on play then, and they'll be happy.
Yeah. I'll watch a video sometimes and be like, oh, that's a nice idea. Let's just check the comments for validity.
Yeah.
No, always, oh, I didn't do that. Oh, you shouldn't do that until this time. Oh, wow. Did you know that it has this adverse effect? Yeah. Oh my God.
And also there's every single view under the sun. There'll be someone saying it's the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
Someone else saying it's the worst thing you do. Someone else saying you can do it if you want. Don't really make a difference. Oh my God, just let me crack on.
I'm yet to find a single video related to like something you can do with your child that's actually just got positive comments. Like, everyone's like, oh yeah, this is really good.
I've seen there's been like a shift, I think, from people who are fed up with it. Who I've seen lately, there might be like a dad on there playing with their daughter where they're maybe just doing some rough play, because the whole thing that we've seen before is dads are more likely to do rough play with their son than their daughter. Right. But rough play is really beneficial for everyone. And when I say rough play, it means like, throwing them onto a beanbag and stuff like that.
Being a bit silly, yeah.
And so there might be like a dad doing it with their daughter. And obviously the classic comments will be, to your daughter, do you know what kind of effect that's going to have a really bad effect when they grow up and they know men can throw them around? It's like, oh my goodness me, he's playing. No, but what I see now is a switch where there's comments and they're just completely satirical. And they'll start off with that, but they're just joking. Like, you shouldn't do that with your daughter because they'll grow up loving you and having a really nice strong bond.
I've seen some of them.
It's completely like sarcastic.
Yeah, you get baited in. I'm angry. I'm reading the first sentence, ready to reply to them. Like, no, this is wrong. You're being stupid. And actually, they're just
they're just having a laugh. I was like, you know what? Crack on. You know your kid better than anyone. Before I had kids, I'll be really honest. I turned my nose up sometimes to people who said stuff like that.
Right.
I'm like, if someone said, you know your baby better than anyone, mama. If a doctor says this, then you should be doing that, mama. Everything's mama at the end.
Yeah.
You know you, mama. And I would definitely be like, oh, shut up. The doctor, it's a doctor. Of course I know well. Yeah. Having gone through a pregnancy, well, not personally, but having gone through a pregnancy with a partner, having the whole birth process, and since then, oh my, they are right though. There is a whole bunch of stuff where I'm like, the mama does know best.
The mama does know best.
And there's certain things where doctors have said stuff to us and it sounds great. And at the time we've taken it as gospel. No, doctors said this. And actually, they were wrong. They were just wrong. Like, what's best for each person is different.
So what are you saying here? Because the start of that sentence was, the doctors was always right. And
no. I'm saying it's changed. I'm saying I used to be like that. I used to turn my nose up.
Of course, right.
I used to turn my nose up to people who said, mama knows best. Doctor isn't always right, but it's changed. Yeah. Since having a baby, I'm like, there is certain stuff actually where you just do you and the baby's going to be fine.
Well, look, let's talk about doctors for a second because I want to vent. Okay.
This is funny because, again, we've had a similar experience. Haven't we? We're at the same doctor's surgery, Hayden and I. So I'm going to lay the foundations of this because you know the state of doctor's surgeries in general. We'll get onto that. I had a really good experience with my doctors.
First time ever?
Yeah, and you had a terrible one at the same doctor's
every time
in the same week. So why are you so annoyed?
Potluck, by the way. That's I'm going to say that right now. Anyone in the UK, hopefully you're going to vent with me because I imagine it's the same everywhere. The system is so broken. We talk about the teaching system being broken. It's not as broken as the GP system. It's unreal how you can't get an appointment anymore. So our surgery, and please tell me if this is normal, because I don't think it is, and it might just be. Our surgery opens at 8 o'clock.
Physically
opens at 8 o'clock. And the only way you can get an appointment is booking it same day. So you can't book an appointment under any circumstance ever in our doctors for a different day, for a future day.
That's normal.
Mental, straight away. That annoys me so much, right? Opens at 8 o'clock. They don't open their phone lines until 8:30.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is, basically, the majority of the appointments will be gone by 8:30 because people at our doctors, and I did this 2 days ago for 2 days in a row because I couldn't get an appointment, queue up from 7:30 just to get there to be front. It's like the Apple store when there's a new iPhone releasing.
Only it's not a new iPhone. It's healthcare.
It's healthcare that I'm paying into constantly every month. We just line up, and if you're lucky, you'll get an appointment. So I lined up the first day, got all the way to the front of the queue after about 20-25 minutes. I was probably about the 15th in the queue, thinking, I'm probably going to get an appointment, you know.
You'd hope so.
And got there, and she was like, "Oh yeah, doctor's not in." I was like, "Oh, is she not?" That's classic timing, isn't it? Oh, so annoyed, thinking I can't. Oh, for God's sake! Like these people probably get a constant abuse. I was like, I'm not going to be that guy that gets annoyed.
No,
it's a receptionist. Like, what? It's not their fault, is it?
They didn't create the system.
I was like, oh, okay. I said, what days does she work? And they was like, oh, every other day apart from today. I was like, oh, classic that, isn't it? I finally get down there and she's not here. She's like, okay, is she in tomorrow? And she was like, yeah. Okay, has she got any appointments? So she was like, yes. I was like, can I have one? She's like, no. Of course not. I know the system's broken. That's fine. What can I do? She was like, well, come back in the morning. She's got a few appointments. And I was thinking, well, none of them can be booked today. No one can book those appointments because it's not tomorrow yet. Yeah. So it should be fine as long as I get here at the same time. Went back the next day, queued up again, sat there half an hour, got to the end of the queue. Same lady. I was like, oh, it's me again. Came here yesterday trying to see this doctor. You said she's got some appointments. Can I see her today? Oh, I've not got any appointments. I was like, she not? Okay. Right, it's just okay. No, okay. How do I get an appointment? Because yesterday I came and you said she's got some appointments today, and now I've come again and she's not got any. Like a normal person, I work in the hours that this doctor's surgery is open. So what do I do?
So you got half time. You got every single day of half time.
Yeah, literally. And in the end, she was like, well, she's got some phone appointments later. I was thinking, oh, you know what would be better? When she's on the phone to me, could I just be there instead in front of her? That might work.
Do you know what? I'll bring my phone.
I will sit in this lobby, and then when she's done,
I'll walk round.
I'll just pop on.
I'll answer. Hello. Yeah. Funnily enough,
I'm just outside. Are you free? You are, because you're on the phone to me. You are free. Brilliant. I'll come in. And in the end, so she phoned me. I waited all day because they say, we'll phone you at some point. It's 8 a.m. Right? They rang at 4:15.
Oh my God.
So I'd waited all day, just like not really doing anything. And the only plans I had were at 4:30 that day. I did nothing all day other than wait for the appointment. And I was meeting my cousin to play some snooker. Yeah. Something we haven't done in years. And I was like, that'd be really nice. Yeah. 4:15, she rings. I was like, oh, typical. She was like, yeah, do you want to quickly come in now? I was thinking, oh, I do. I really do. I've also got an appointment, something else to do, but I'm going to come in because I'm not missing this. Came in. She didn't really know what the problem was.
What? Sorry. she invited you in anyway?
Yeah, after about 20 seconds of talking. I was like, yeah, it's kind of one of those things you need to see, really.
Yeah, because, oh my God. Because both the things we went to the doctors for are things where it's irrelevant being on a phone.
Yeah.
It's like you need to see to check this kind of stuff
both of us, it was like a skin thing, right? I'm not afraid to say that. It's just a skin thing. Nothing terrible, but just something where it's like, can you just look at that?
Yeah.
Because I just want to know that I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, went in anyway. She didn't really know what it was.
Do you want to tell you my experience?
Yeah, go on.
Because this is the exact same doctors, and this is going to highlight how mad it is. I phoned them in the morning at 8, and they said it's closed. I was like, I'm fairly sure it opens at 8. Found out the whole thing. Actually, the line's open at 8:30. I was like, fine. That's a good half an hour of appointments being booked up, but fine. So I called at 8:30. Got to make sure you time it right. I called at 29 minutes past 8, knowing there's some jargon. I was like, I'm playing the game here, because by the time you get through, there's been a lot of abuse to our people. That won't be tolerated. If there's any other way of checking out your ailment instead of coming to a GP surgery, which you pay for, by the way, but you can't ever get, why don't you try that out instead? Call 111 and stay on hold for 7 hours, and they can check your mole. No, they can't. It's a phone call. I want you to look at my mole. So anyway, go through all that jargon. It gets past 8:30 and the line's open. I go, you are number 9 in the 9. Who's got ahead of me? I called at 29. Anyway, I'm 9 in the queue, so I'm waiting, and I'm like, I'm geeing myself up for a mini argument. Like, I'm not going to be horrible to them, but I just want to make sure that my message gets across, because it's classic with all big companies, and it's now with GPs as well. The people who set the system make sure someone else takes the flak. Some person on minimum wage probably is at the front.
Yeah.
So it winds me up, but I also want them to know it's broken. So I know that there's like a system since COVID, by the way, which has just stayed, which is another annoying thing, that the first port of call for whatever you do at our doctors is a phone call. And I'm straight away, I'm like, okay, cool. I need someone to check out 3 moles. So a phone call does nothing for me. So, hiya. What are you after? I want you to check my moles, please. Oh, do you want to come in? Yes.
Yeah.
Of course I do.
Or let me just look over the phone for you.
Yeah. Can you describe the mole?
Well,
it's quite moldy.
It looks like every other mole I've ever seen.
Literally. And yeah, it looks slightly different, which is why I want you to look at it, so I can't describe it. Anyway, so I'm ready for this. I'm always G'd up a bit, and I was like, it gets through. It's like, hi, how can I help? Hello. I was just hoping to get some moles checked, please. And that's all I said. Yeah. Right. And because I was waiting for them to be like, oh, well, okay, well, there's no. And she literally went, yep, okay, I've got 10:30 today. And yeah. Thank you, good madam.
Yeah. I'm really angry for some reason.
I will take that 10:30. And she was like, cool, that's all booked in. See you then. I was like, okay, cool. So I went in.
Yeah.
Got there at 25 past. Checked in. Got called immediately. So I was in there at 28 past.
Wow.
Wasn't even my doctor. My doctor was busy. Wow. I was with a different
Wasn't even a doctor. No wonder you got the appointment.
I was in the car park at Tesco Extra. It was really weird. Went in, showed him my moles. Immediately at ease in terms of he was just so calm and explained everything. Saw the mole. He said some random Latin word. Oh, that's a Mollicus spartacus. And I was like, okay, thank you. And he was like, oh, that's fine. Yeah. And then I had another one because I've got one on my hairline.
Sir, sorry, sir, that's your nipple. Sorry, okay, sorry, I've been really silly there. What about this other mole? Well, sir, I hate to tell you, that's your other nipple.
And this one, that's your penis. Thank you, doctor. I was so worried. There's wee coming out of my mole. It's leaking.
There's milk coming out. These other ones. Well, that is a problem.
That's not what you think. But you do need to get that checked out.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Anyway, I was at home by 10:37. Yeah. And Lauren thought I'd forgotten something. She's like, what's the matter? And I was like, I'm done. So completely mad. Yeah. 2 completely different things.
Nice. You had a good experience. I'm glad that. To be fair, when I did go the first time, I was offered an appointment with a different doctor. Oh, okay. But with this thing, I was very my doctor very specifically requested me to get an appointment to come and see her to check up on this thing. Yeah. And I was like, oh, thanks, but I do need to see this doctor. She was like, oh,
fair enough.
Can't. So I don't know. But back to the overall point. What are your doctors like? Please let us know. Have a vent because I constantly vent about doctors. It annoys me so much that I can't see someone.
I'm going to stick up for GP receptionists right now because actually they've been lovely. They've been lovely. Job. Hard job. And they're lovely. They must get a lot of abuse. Yeah. I really don't want anything directed towards them in terms of...
it's not their fault.
It's a horrible
It's not
job.
their fault. It's not the doctor's fault either. So
no,
to make it really
doctors,
clear, I am not annoyed at doctors in any way. I'm really, really annoyed at the system.
The government.
Oh, is it the government? Is it? I wonder if it's to do with underfunding. Cause...
Is it that thing where every single graph and piece of data that you've ever seen from 2010 has just got considerably worse? Yeah. Was it that thing where we turned 18 in 2010-11 and ever since we've been an adult, life for adults have got considerably worse consistently?
In every single way?
Every single way possible.
And the country's got poorer.
That's all right. Got a general election this year.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, but do you remember what Labour did back in early 2000s?
They made the museums free! Okay.
Honestly.
Oh, God.
What was it recently? I can't remember what it was, but the overarching point is more important. Someone was moaning about something. It was on like a question time kind of program. Someone was moaning about something. And they were saying, yeah, this policy is rubbish. Yep. And then someone else came back and I thought they were like, well, do you know who brought that policy in? That was Labour in like 2000 and whatever. Yeah. And I was like, oh, we've kind of done it there because that was a Labour policy. And then the person immediately replied, was like, yeah, cool. Tories have had 14 years to sort it out. Why haven't they sorted it out?
Yeah. There's nothing now. That's why they're completely screwed. Yeah. Because there is nothing now. Because after like 14 years and 75 prime ministers, and they try and reinvent themselves every time, there's nothing left now where if it's wrong, they've not either had the chance to fix it, or they've completely wrecked it.
It's been too long now. You can't. They can't. If you keep blaming Labour, stop it. Stop it.
And do you know what? You don't have to like Labour. You don't even have to vote for Labour.
No.
You don't need to, like, whatever you want to do, actually, it's fine. Do you know what? I've got my reservations about Labour currently.
I don't really like it right now at all.
Absolutely. So this isn't a pro-Labour thing. This is quite simply that when a government's been in charge for 14 years and stuff is awful, you can't point and blame at anyone else. Yeah. So vote for whoever you want to vote for, but do not blame someone other than this government for what this government have managed to do in the last 15 years.
Yeah. Or Dylan will get you.
I'll get ya.
Anyway. Right, thanks for that vent. I needed that vent.
That's good.
I needed that vent.
The listeners sure didn't. They've all turned off. What are you here for? Oh, yeah, burnout. God, we are burnout, aren't we?
We're burnt out from listening to this.
Should we give our top... Should we give our top tips then, Aidan?
Yeah, I like how we're slowly starting to like do like soft swear words a bit more now. We're a bit more confident. You last week was the week of bloody.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, these bloody things.
When you say soft swear words, are you referencing the fact I've said the F word 3 times and I've had to cut it?
I was just going to say that. You might have noticed there's a cut if you're watching. Probably if you're listening, we probably cut it so you didn't hear it. But yeah, Dylan keeps saying the F word.
Do you want a really quick story about the F word?
Not really.
Okay,
I'm joking.
Got it. No, I'll tell you at the end. You have to listen through. I'll tell you a quick story about the
F
F word.
Tell me at the end when we play a game, because I've got a game for you.
Bro, so we're going to have a nice serious chat, game, and then an F word story. Ready?
Let's do it.
Let's cut. Okay, you ready, Hayden? You ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. Because Hayden said, let's go, and then took a drink, did a stretch, and sorted his top out. So we're ready now. Hello, everyone.
Hang on.
Yeah, brilliant.
There we are. I'm good.
Okay, yeah, you look good now. That top was looking not on fleek until you did that.
Yeah.
And now it looks great.
On
so
fleek.
that was really useful. You did that.
My eyebrows are on fleek.
Anyway, they're never on fleek. Your hairline's on fleek. Anyway.
My hairline is fleeting away.
That's that word's meaning. Anyway, you've clicked on this because guess what? We're halfway through the school year. This half term marks the halfway point.
Yay.
Yay. And it means that we've got just what we've done so far left again until the end of the year, and we get that lovely summer holiday.
The old definition of half there for you from Dylan.
If anyone didn't know what half meant, now you know. So I thought it'd be a really good point now to talk about burnout, because for me personally, I think getting through the first 2 terms is tough. You get to Christmas. After that, settling back in can be tricky, but you get through that term, and it can kind of hit you now like, oh, I do have 3 more terms left. And these tend to be, especially at the end, last summer term, a really long one. So if you're starting to feel already quite burnt out doing the job, there are things we have to do to stop that, because it's only going to get worse from this point. If you're halfway through it,
we've been through those years of total utter burnout, and we've come out the other end. I think, because we said before this, didn't we? We were like, do you feel as burned out as you used to feel? And
no.
I mean, a part of that is obviously due to part-time, but we do still work on those other days as well.
Yeah.
In our own stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't, and I haven't done for a few years. No. I don't feel as burnt out as I used to feel back in the day.
And I think what's really important for teachers to understand is, and I guess this episode is aimed more at less experienced teachers who kind of feel that burnout and don't know what to do, but also more experienced staff who are still struggling with burnout, but also just to see, am I doing these things? Are there things I can help? Because a lot of this stuff comes with experience that we're about to talk about.
And you will definitely have your own ideas as well. And
I'd love to hear them, because what helps you avoid burnout. But we still see so many staff say, I am just completely burnt out. I am doing way too much. And although a lot of that can be down to the school you work for, it can be down to policies, it can be down to what management expect from you. There is always a chunk of that burnout which is under your control. And I think taking back control of that and empowering teachers is really important. So we're going to go through right now. We've got 3 top tips each on how to battle and tackle that burnout. How can you actually help yourself? What can you do which is almost irrelevant to the external factors?
Yeah. We've not shared our points with each other. So I just want to ask you now to make sure we're on the same page. Are your 3 things that you have done over, like basically things that you've done over the years and experienced?
Yes, because I know that we've had a few before where we've given advice out, and we've said even we could do with taking this advice ourselves.
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
that's useful advice, of course, but this is real advice. This is something now you're listening to teachers who've been teaching for 9 years and 8 years and have gone through the mill, and these are things that genuinely worked for us. So do you know what? I also moved to school. So I was feeling burnout.
Yeah.
If there's just too much going on that's out of your control, the ultimate thing is to try somewhere else, because there are different schools with different amounts of.
I think the rule should be, if they hear these 6 points and think, I wouldn't be able to do, let's say, 3 or more of them because my school would block it.
Yeah.
Then maybe you're in one of those sort of toxic schools, because I think we could do all 6 of these and it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, completely.
Well, I don't know what yours are, but I can say mine.
Yeah, true. No, I think it's just it's about realistic, and some of this does require you to just take that step and kind of say no sometimes, but we'll get into that anyway.
All right. Are you going to start?
I'll start. So my first tip, the way we'll do this, we'll just give the tips out. We'll have a discussion, see if we both do them and how helpful they might be.
Okay, sounds good.
So my first tip, number one, this is something I see a lot of staff do. Top tip, number one, to avoid burnout. Check that you're actually following school policy and do not go above and beyond where you don't have to. Now that's controversial.
Sounds
because
bad, doesn't it?
above and beyond, we hear this thing all the time about teaching is a vocation. We go above and beyond for those kids. You can, all of the kind of airy-fairy stuff where you make those fantastic connections with the children, which can't really be written in the policy. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm specifically talking about policies where you've got marking policies, you've got planning policies, you've got policies around what you're expected to do as a teacher.
Yeah.
You've got to follow them. So the example I've got here, for example...
I wonder if it's the same. I've got an example as well, and I want to hear yours.
Yeah, so my one is marking.
Oh, mine's different.
Okay, so I've got a few examples, so we'll see. You can come in as well. Sure. So I want to get across what I mean here. When I say marking, we know we have to mark. Yeah. We can have a whole discussion about how useful written feedback is. I don't think it's very useful at all. However, I see a lot of staff doing this, and I've seen it in schools I've worked at myself, where, are you following the policy? Yep. Our policy for writing is very stripped back. When we give feedback, you can just give it in single words. You can just say, use your next step stamp or whatever you want to do, or just write down conjunctions. What you don't need to do for every single person, and you might find yourself doing this because I did when I was an NQT and I was an inexperienced teacher, I'd write in someone's book, you have used conjunctions beautifully in this piece of writing. Next time, why don't you think about adding some extra detail using parentheses?
And actually your school policy at the time, marking policy was, you don't need to do that. You can just put this little symbol that we've made up that means that.
Exactly.
And this one word.
Exactly.
Yeah, so just do that.
Just follow the policy. Yeah. Look at your marking policy. Do you have to write down a paragraph for every piece of work? It might be that you do, and that's a separate conversation. But for a lot of people, actually, it's just nice to write in for the kids. They can't read it. They don't know. It's not affecting their learning at all. Have a priority list there. Am I actually following the policy?
Yeah, nice.
What's your one?
I've got one very different, actually, like totally different avenue, I guess, of thinking. But when I started teaching, I very much thought it was an above and beyond thing at break times to go out and sort of like mingle with the kids and be with them, more than just my one. I had one break duty a week, and a lot of schools are like that. You might have more. And but I'd often find myself going out, sometimes even at lunchtime for a little bit.
Love me.
Yeah, in a way. But I also had in the back of my mind, this looks good.
Yeah.
The school are going to think, look at that teacher. He's going above and beyond to make bonds with his kids. I didn't need to do that. Actually, really, I then just gave myself more markings to do at the end of the day and just extended my day. I could have just not. So I stopped that after a while. I almost never go out now unless it's my break duty because I'm like, no, this is my time. I need to get other stuff done. I have to. Yeah,
because otherwise it goes somewhere else. And that's what I mean by above and beyond. I don't mean in the classic term of like making those amazing bonds with your kids.
The policy was one break duty.
Exactly. So just do one break duty. Another big one that I see of a lot of people who will say, I'm really struggling with burnout. And I'll say to them, don't you do a club after school? Yeah. Is that policy? Do we have to do a club? No, but it's just for the kids. I'm afraid, guys, at some point, you have to look after yourself. Yeah. If you are feeling really burnt out, that's one of the first things that has to go. If you do an after-school club or a lunchtime club and you're not being compensated for it and it pushes your marking down the line and it means you're staying in school later.
You don't have to do it.
And you don't have to do it. It's one of those decisions where I know deep down in our hearts, because we're all teachers, we love helping the children and we love these kind of enrichment activities. We can't take that load when they're not funded properly. No. We can't be the people to take on the extra thing. If there's other stuff you have to do and you're feeling burnt out, look at your policies. Do you have to be doing everything you're doing? Can you skim on some time by simply following the policy and doing a good job? I think a big thing we're going to have in this chat, Hayden, is redefining what it means to do your job well. It does not mean that you have to live up to this Instagram, I'm an amazing teacher. No, you can do a really good job by just following your school policies, teaching the kids well. And I think that's what this point is about.
Do you think back in the 90s that some of the teachers were good?
Of course, I had fantastic teachers.
They worked considerably less hours than we do, and they were still good. If we all agree on that, that there were some good teachers back then.
We didn't have PPA back in our day. Yeah, you didn't have to plan everything and write everything down.
Because if we do think the definition of being a good teacher is doing all this above and beyond stuff, and it does make you a better teacher, then what we're saying is that every teacher that didn't used to do that, basically more than 2 decades ago, was terrible. And it's like, no, they weren't. They weren't terrible. They were really good.
Not at all. And I think the last one here, it's going to lead in because a bit of a, for our listeners here, I know the theme of Hayden, so I can order them. Hayden has no idea what I've written down, but this kind of leads into your one. So the last point I'll make, and then you can go into your second one. Another policy is to do with planning. Do you have a scheme? Can you use it? Is there planning that already exists? Is there stuff on the area that you can use?
Yeah.
Don't reinvent the wheel. Follow your policies. So that's my number one tip. Look at your policies, refresh your brain. Are you following them? Are you doing too much when you simply don't have to? It's an easy win.
Nice. Well, tip number 2 on avoiding burnout nicely links on from tip number 1. Drop the pride. Drop the pride and use resources from other people.
Yeah.
Just do it. Okay. Sometimes, they haven't used the font that I like, or I like to put boxes around these things on my smart notebooks. Oh, this worksheet, like when I trim it, doesn't have. I like to put the boxes around this bit on the worksheet so it fits nicely. Do you know what? You don't have to change it. You don't have to. I promise you, a week later, you'll forget about it. The kids won't have ever known any different anyway. And as long as they get the same out of it, does it really matter? Does it really matter? I used to spend so much time, and I know you did as well, because we used to plan together back in our NQT days.
It almost became a competition.
It did.
Of how much time we could spend.
So much time on our smart notebooks. And a lot of that time really was just the positioning of stuff on the screen and the formatting. And I want to put a box there. I want to get this nice little tip box in the bottom.
Well, do you remember? Because we used to spend ages planning, right? And we'd get to the end of making us smart. And our both of our thought process then, but I've got to make the worksheet now. Sorry, what? The task, the most important thing.
Yeah, the bit
if you're actually going to spend time planning properly, it has to be the task.
Yeah.
I've made some artsy-fartsy slides where there's 16 slides in a row that do these funny things. It doesn't matter.
I'll tell you what, it took me a long time. It took me years, but I have finally dropped that pride. And now when I look at a resource, I think what are the kids actually going to get out of it?
Yep.
They don't care about the presentation. Honestly, they don't. People might tell you they will. We've got to make it look good. They don't care. They just don't.
And there's some people out there, right, who take pride in their resources, and they love that aesthetic and things. And if they're not feeling burnt out, and that's part of what they enjoy doing, don't change anything. It's lovely. I'm not saying it's bad.
If you're feeling burnt out, ask for their resources. Use theirs. And that's kind of overarching point here is if there is stuff available from other people, or even just the internet or whatever, you go on TES or you go on Twinkle or whatever subscriptions you've got. If there's stuff available and you've looked through it and you quality controlled it and you think it's good, use it.
Because you're a professional.
Use it.
You're a professional. You can make that judgment call.
Have you ever before? Because I've done this loads of times, and every time I'm doing it, I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing? Snipped a PowerPoint, so like screenshotted a PowerPoint onto my smart notebook, basically slide for slide, just so that it's not a Twinkle PowerPoint.
Anyone who doesn't know, smart notebook is like PowerPoint, but a lot of schools use it, a lot of schools don't.
Yeah, it's more interactive.
I've changed now.
Over it and things.
I've changed now. Like in terms of, we use White Rose Maths. If a PowerPoint, so let's say we're doing fractions, right? I could sit and make all these equal spaced out lines and these beautiful graphs and these pictures
pictorial stuff.
Yeah, all this pictorial stuff that moves. Or I could just use the PowerPoint that exists. So do you know what I'm just gonna put a slide and say see PowerPoint for my own reference.
I do that as well.
I jump over to the PowerPoint and guess what? The kids get the same learning experience. Actually, they get a better learning experience because it exists. It's made by professionals, other math specialists. It's already there. It doesn't need to look like my lesson. It doesn't matter.
So to summarize then, my first point, so point number 2 on avoiding burnout, don't be too proud. Use other resources. Don't worry too much about what it looks like.
Definitely. So tip number 3, I guess. We're going 1, 2, 3. We've got 6 in total. This one is, again, I'm only giving stuff I've used because I found it really useful. So tip number 3, avoid burnout by spreading your classroom mental load. Spread that out amongst people, either support staff or actual children. So what I mean here is...
Burn them out.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. What I mean here is, as a classroom teacher, you are a manager. You are a manager. You're in charge of that particular classroom. You have children to manage. You might have support staff to manage sometimes, probably not all the time, knowing funding as it is right now. But that is a big cognitive load that you've got to carry. Yeah. And especially when you're getting initiatives from SLT, or you've got lots of policies to follow, like we said. You've looked at the policies, well, okay, but I've still got to do a visual timetable every day. I've still got to make sure that these letters get handed out at the end of every day. I am scatty. I am terrible. If there's a pile of letters on my desk and that comes at lunchtime, because it's not come within 2 minutes of it having to be done, it will be forgotten about and left on my desk.
Yeah. What's the percentage rate do you reckon you actually hand out a letter on the day you get
It's 50-50. It's 50-50.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
I would
50-50.
reckon you was like 10% for you.
No, it's pretty good because it's improved because I followed this advice. Right. So my tip when I say spread the mental load is give your kids in your class jobs. If there are low stakes jobs that you've got to remember every single day, but anyone could do them, i.e. fixing the visual timetable. My class now, since we talked about it a few episodes ago, we use a visual timetable every single day.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Because there's one boy in my class who I've given that job to. Every single morning he comes up to me and says, "What are we doing today?" And he points at the visual timetable. And every single morning I go, "Oh yeah, it's this." I don't have to do it anymore. I'll just say to him, "Science," and he'll sort it all out whilst it's going on. Meanwhile, there are two people who go over to my book corner and make sure that's all tidy because they're using the book corners. Meanwhile, there's a rotation of people who are taking my lunch register around. There's a rotation of people who are taking the lunch trolley to the hall, and there's a rotation of people who are sorting out books to be returned to the library. So there's a box now of books. There's someone who'll walk around and say, any books to be collected up?
It's all automated.
All of these jobs were jobs that just simply would not have happened, or I'd forget, because do you know what I've got to do in the morning? I've got to make sure the kids are okay. There's someone who's coming crying because something's happened at home.
Ready. I've got to print, I've got to trim.
Exactly. I've done, printing and trimming, fine. I can do that before the kids come in. Okay. But when I've got 32 children in front of me, do you know my priority is making sure they're okay? It's talking to them. It's catching up with them. It might be doing a bit of input of one of them who missed something yesterday. It's doing the register. It's making sure they get the hot school dinners if they need hot school dinners. All of these things are higher up in my priority list than everything else that needs to happen.
So would you say your point here is delegate? Don't be afraid to delegate.
Yeah, don't be afraid to
sometimes
delegate.
we think, I better do that because I'm the teacher. No.
Yeah.
No, if someone else can do it, get them to do it.
So if you're in a staff meeting, right? And someone's, and then for example, let's say you don't do a visual timetable, but you're in the staff meeting and then your SLT say, okay guys, we're all going to do a visual timetable from now. Instead of going, oh God, I'm so burnt out already. How am I going to do that? Try and change your mindset because that's going to help you in the long run. Your mindset can now be, okay, how can I make that work for me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make that work for me because the resources team are making it for everyone. Thank you. But I've still got to do it every day. Do you know what? I'm going to put that out to a kid because a child can easily do that job.
Yeah.
Do you know what a child can't do? And I still wouldn't trust them to do. I'm sure they could if we trained them, but I still at the minute, no, I'm going to write down who needs hot school lunches because if someone messes up their dinner, I'm going to feel awful that actually I put a 9-year-old in charge of that. That's my job in the morning. But you know what? These 5 other jobs, no. And if there are some jobs that an adult needs to do, maybe it's changing a display, getting some staples down, something maybe where it's a bit more involved with safety or just know-how of an adult. Do you know what? I'll wait for my support staff to come in. Actually, I know I've got support staff in English today, so that job can wait till then. I'll write it down. Oh, here you go, because I've got a nice relationship with my TAs. Or before we do anything, whilst I'm doing the input, would you mind just going and sorting out this for me?
Did you earlier on in your career, like me, find it really hard to delegate to staff?
Yeah, I still, honestly, and hopefully this helps people who are less experienced than us, 8 and 9 years, I still really struggle with managing people. In terms of I still feel awkward. I feel like I'm their equal. I don't like the idea of me being the manager of the class and I'm managing them. It is what it is.
Like you're above them in terms of hierarchy in the school.
You know, for a teacher who's less experienced, who's like 2-3 years in, they might have a TA who's been at the school for 30 years. And you know, that TA knows exactly what's going on and sometimes can be a bit overpowering. I've seen them.
Remember?
Yeah, completely.
I remember my first, and I'm going to name them because I just love these people. My first year of teaching, I had 2 TAs that were working with me. One was Mike Brown, who I'm still friends with, lovely man. Way more experienced than I was at the time. And another one was Angie Laffey, who was like one of the most incredible teaching assistants
I've got to say right now, Angie Laffey is that archetypal, TA who is a better teacher than anyone.
So good. And they were my first TAs, right? Helping me out on a daily basis. And I had so much imposter syndrome thinking, I'm technically supposed to be like in charge, like telling you guys what to do, but you know everything better than I do. And I think that since then, it took me many years, I think, to get to the point where that no longer infiltrated my brain whenever I thought, I do kind of need an adult to help me with this. I'll just do it myself because I don't want to ask them. Now I think I'm better at being like, actually, do you know what? We're a team.
Yes.
One of us has got to manage this team in terms of like me and my TA, or me and a couple of TAs that work in our year group. Obviously, our year leader has that overarching role, but I can also just say, "Oh, what are you doing? Have you got an hour spare this afternoon? Could you mind getting this job done?" Cool, brilliant.
Yeah,
there you go. There's an hour that I don't have to do after school now. They're doing it in their paid time, as long as it's free.
Exactly. So yeah, that's my point there. Delegate. I think we all know it's tricky to delegate to adults, but something that transformed it for me was just delegate it to your kids. Your kids are more reliable than you ever could imagine. And when it's their job, They're not going to forget it. They've got one job to remember, and they do it every day.
And
I trust you. They love it. If you ask your kids to do a favor, you'll get everyone's hand go up straight away. So just delegate out. If you're feeling burnt out, how much of these jobs can you give to someone else? And then you know what? It's not in my head anymore. I don't have to get frustrated because they're running it for
just
me.
Remember, to be fair as well, obviously, we say that giving these jobs to other people, as long as they've got the capacity to take it. You don't want to just pass the burnout to someone.
I'm talking about children in classrooms, those little mini jobs. That's fine.
Just want to make that clear. I don't want someone to listen to that and be they're just saying, get someone else to have all your stress.
And when I say ATA, I mean that. Like, we've said we're real awkward. If they've got time and that's something that can help you. And do you know what? More often, all our TAs are bloody lovely.
Yeah.
They'll be like, of course I can. They ask me.
Yeah.
That's how bad I am at this. They'll ask me, is there anything I can do? And I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, I've not thought about it.
I don't know. Actually, there's 17 things. Get a bit more organized. It's helped me a lot. So that's my second tip 3.
Right. Tip number 4, avoiding burnout. This is probably my favorite tip. I've been doing this for years and I'm still improving at it. I'm not great. And it is called planning.
Go part-time.
Go part-time. Yeah, that's a great tip. Planning for marking. And what I mean by planning for marking is consider the marking load at the point in which you plan your day or you plan your lessons or you plan your week, whatever your planning process is. Genuinely build into your thought process of how long will it take to mark this? And if you're organized enough, you can get to a point where you make sure that there are no days where you end up with that horrible triple marking burden. You know, when you've done your morning lesson, it's like, that's a big mark. Then you've got your English lesson, whatever it is, that's a big mark. And then you do your afternoon lesson, it just happens to be quite a big mark load as well. And you think, oh no.
Or an afternoon where you've just fit 2 lessons into the afternoon.
Something horrendous.
And it's a quadruple day.
Yeah, and you've got like all this marking to do. I'd say probably like now, less than 2 times a term do I accidentally let that happen to me. Sure. Because I'll plan for my marking.
So how would you do that? Let's say you've got a day ahead of you. So for anyone, again, who doesn't know, primary school staff will have one afternoon called PPA where we're out of the classroom. We don't have to do any marking. So that's kind of done for itself.
Yep.
We might have another day, perhaps where we're doing like PE or something. Or something where it's built in that there is no actual physical marking. But how do you avoid it on those days where, let's say, you've got to teach history in the afternoon, you've got maths and English in the morning.
Yeah.
How can you action that and try and avoid your burnout, staying late without making it a detriment to the kids? Because I think the thing people might say to you there is, okay, well, what, do they not do any work then? How are we going to make sure? What do you mean? Like, I'm going to plan for marking, but how do you do that?
A couple of things. So first of all, I think you need to be really confident with knowing your weekly timetable. It has to come from a weekly perspective, right? You know which days you have more time on. For example, on PPA day, I always make sure if I am going to do some big marking in maths and English is that day.
Sure.
Because I've got all of PPA and I've got no afternoon lesson to mark it.
Yeah.
So that day, I don't mind. I'll always make sure that's fine. I can just mark those as the biggest set of marking I need, whatever. But on the days, and there's another day where we'll do things in the afternoon where we're not marking anyway. Things like PE, music, like those kind of subjects. If we do them, there's not really any marking involved anyway. There might be a little bit of assessment. So those days, I also think, right, if I did have bigger marking in the morning, that's not as much of a problem. So we're down to like 2 or 3 days of the week where you might have maybe maths, English, and then like a geography lesson or something like that in the afternoon. And for those lessons at the beginning of the week, I'm already planning ahead on. I think it's acceptable to have 1 or 2 practical lessons in the week, maybe 1 in maths, one in English, where we don't do anything in the books. And I'll plan that. Don't be afraid to do that. Be like, nope, on Thursday, I know that we're doing a big bit of writing in English. That's going to take me a while to mark, and we've got some geography in the afternoon. So do you know what? In maths, I'm going to make sure that whatever I had planned for that day, we're going to do it in a practical way, and I'm not going to be left with marking. And I'm not afraid to do that because you know what? It's okay. And guess what, guys? Marking's the least important, least effective part of teaching anyway. So really, it's not going to have that much impact as long as you still teach a lesson well and they're still doing a task of some sort.
You don't have to have maths in a book to have learnt maths.
No. And the final point is, with marking, I kind of see there's 2 types of marking. There's quick marking and there's long marking. And I consider maths generally, at least in our system, maths is a quick mark.
Definitely.
Pretty much always.
Do you find with maths in our system, again, we've kind of not molded, I guess we've molded over the years, haven't we? Where our aim now is teachers work through break, newsflash, that teachers would be able to mark maths always within their break time.
If they wanted to. Yeah, so basically 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Maximum.
Yeah, because we self-mark in maths. And then the idea is, because they've self-marked, you can just kind of have a quick flick through and pick up misconceptions or whatever, but it's quick. Now, if I do this on the spot sometimes, and don't be afraid, again, to do this, just adapt and change your week on the spot, even on the day. I have before finished a maths lesson and it's not quite gone to plan. We've not ended up self-marking, and I've thought that's a big mark now because they didn't really get that. They've done some work in their books. We've not self-marked it. It's going to take me ages now to mark that. So I get to the next lesson, which is English, and then before I start that lesson, we've got break time. My thought is, cool. How can I now make this lesson practical? Because I'm not prepared to take books home, and that is a rule I have. If I get to 5:30 and there's marking that hasn't been done, I have failed myself that day. I've not organised my day properly, and I will not take it home. I'm not going to mark it.
I think that's really good, because I think with a lot of these lists, sometimes I hear people say things like, tip 4, don't take marking home. You could have said that then. Your tip could have been, don't take marking home. Yeah. And it's like, I find tips like that really unhelpful.
Yeah, it's like, how do I not take marking home?
So the tip you're saying is, be organised in the first place and know what's going to happen. Avoid taking planning home by knowing that it's okay to plan in these practical lessons. I think it's a great tip.
And change them on the spot if you need to. Seriously.
So be adaptable again.
Yeah.
You could have turned up and said, tip 4, be adaptable. Okay. In practice, what does that mean? It means change your lesson. Don't have to skimp on quality. Don't have to skimp on learning. But what you can do is skimp on how much you're writing in the book.
Yeah, and it links back to point 2, really. Drop the pride. Seriously, don't worry about it. If the odd lesson is now not marked properly because you changed it so that you actually got to go home and spend time with your family or do whatever you do, it's fine. I promise you it won't make an impact. Drop the pride, it's fine. But if your school's got a terrible policy and it's like, no, every lesson must be marked horrendously, then there's a wider issue there.
That's the deeper. And I think that's links in what you said beforehand. If you're listening to these tips and going, I couldn't do that in my school.
Yeah.
There's your answer.
Yeah, maybe the school is the problem.
Right, my final tip 5. Something, again, that I have done a lot more in the last year or two, and I've found it has had a big impact, is to use PPA properly. Okay? Use your PPA time properly. We started off this podcast and we did jokes about how PPA is not enough time. I still think that. PPA is not enough time to get all of the extra stuff done. However, we do have a semblance of control. So this whole theme of all these tips that I've kind of realized over the years is, you can do a lot of moaning about external factors. You can do a lot of complaining about, I've got so much to do because of X, Y, Z. What can I take control of? And my PPA was one of them. And what I mean by using PPA properly, and this expands to everything.
Yeah.
This expands to all of your own time, because you look at PPA, I look at PPA as just an expansion of my time before school, my time after school, anything I've got to do out of the classroom. But PPA is golden because it's the time I get. That's the time I'm given by the system. So I use that time as best I can to take away anything else from my calendar, from my schedule. If I don't use it properly, guess what? I'm just going to have to do it at weekend. I'm just going to have to do it later.
PPA is like double time, because also if you're not teaching a lesson in that time, you're also not having to mark it.
Exactly. So I think in general, my tip here is to have a hierarchy of what needs doing.
I'll be interested to hear yours, because I think I don't use my PPA very effectively.
No, okay. So this, I think you could improve this. I really do.
Yeah.
But have a hierarchy of what needs doing and has the biggest impact on the children. Have that yourself, okay? So as a teacher, as a professional, mold what that is for you.
So just to be clear, you're going to share yours, I imagine.
I'm going to share my hierarchy.
But you're not saying this is what you have to do.
No,
just find your hierarchy.
It's down to you, because do you know what it used to be? I'll tell you now, my number one top thing is I will, in my PPA, if something can only be done in school, so like it can only be done in school, that is irrelevant to my hierarchy. Okay? And I'll show you what I mean.
Yeah, what do you mean?
My hierarchy at the top is planning. Okay?
Oh, okay.
My number one thing that I think of has the biggest impact on the children, and is the biggest use of my time, is planning really good lessons for the children. That's number one. Okay? So you might think, okay, I can plan anywhere. I can plan at home.
Yeah, that's
and
what
I have planned at home a lot of the time. Okay, and then you have some people say, okay, well, in school, I can only do displays in school. I can't do displays at the weekend. I can't. That's impossible. So some people will say, well, that goes above in PPA then, because I'm in school. So I could do my displays right now, my planning. I'll have to just get done whenever. My point here is, no, don't do that. My number one that I've got my hierarchy, which is impeccable. You can't touch that, because I've decided, for me, the best impact I have on the kids of my time is quality planning. I do that first on my PPA every time.
Wow.
Every single time. So if I'm getting my planning done in PPA, okay, if it takes all of PPA and now, I can't do my displays I was going to do, the displays wait. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
They don't get done.
They're not as important.
They're not as important. Because if I did it the other way around and I spent my whole PPA doing displays, guess what? That planning needs to happen because I won't have a lesson to do next week. It has to happen. So it's my hierarchy. How am I going to avoid burning out? Guess what, guys? And people aren't like this, and I don't care because it's how I avoid burning out. There's some stuff that just doesn't get done. And if I'm told I need to do 6 displays, or if I'm told I need to do something else, I'm like, cool, okay, I will do it. I promise you I will do that. But it's here in my hierarchy. Because if you think that it's going to prioritize my planning, then you're completely wrong. Yeah. So again, in my PPA, okay, you've set me a meeting for my PPA. Okay, cool. All right, I'll do it then. But then I'm going to do my planning.
Yeah.
And then if there's any time left over, if I don't finish my planning, that's really annoyed me. And I'll have to do my planning after. But guess what? Anything I do outside of that, I'm not then going to do my display.
No.
It gets to 4:30. I finish my planning. I've done my marking, okay? Because marking's on my hierarchy because I need to do my marking. If that doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. Cool. It's 4:30. So if I leave the building then, someone might say, oh, have you done those displays? I'm more than happy now to say no.
Yeah.
And then I'll wait. Oh, can you do them? Yeah. I'll do them when I've got time.
Yeah.
Well, you can do them now. I know I can, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Because that's how burnout happens. You have to take control of yourself. If it's 4:45 and you have jobs to do, but they are low enough on your hierarchy that you can crack on with your life and do your job, that's where you're going to have to take control and say it's not happening, I'm afraid.
Yeah. What's your whole hierarchy then?
Yeah, so my hierarchy, I didn't go into too much detail.
Planning at the top.
Planning's at the top. So my hierarchy is basically just planning, as that's what needs to be done the most. Then it's going to be written feedback. But I think the reason that's on my hierarchy is because it needs to be done. That's where you need to, as a teacher, come up with your own one. Because for a lot of people, written feedback will be at the bottom of their list. And I would completely understand that. But they might be working in a school where it's not as important. They have a verbal feedback policy. So I can read my personal one, but it is down to what I've cultivated myself. So if I'm sat in PPA, the first thing I think of, is there planning I have to do? Yes or no? Yes, I'll do my planning. Is there planning I have to do? No. Okay, cool. Is there marking I've got to do?
Yeah.
No. Okay, cool. Now I can get into the nitty gritty stuff. Displays are still low here. My next thing would be assessment. Is there assessment outstanding?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, there's some assessment outstanding. Cool. I'll do that. Bang. Get my assessment done. So I've done my planning, my marking, and my macro assessment. They're the 3 things that I see as PPA time.
Yeah.
If that's done, other thing comes in then. Maybe then I'll go and print exactly, get my resources ready. I'll trim stuff. Because do you know when I trim stuff? It's in the morning before I get to school.
Yeah.
So all of these jobs, the hierarchy is what needs to happen for me to be able to complete my job.
Yeah.
Do I need to do displays for my job to get done? No.
Do they have any impact on children ever? Nope.
Yeah. And again, that's down to individual. I agree with you. That's down to individual whim. Yep. But the cold hard facts are in my hierarchy, stuff that if it wasn't done, would the children still have lessons? Yes. Would their learning be impacted? Maybe a tiny bit if the displays aren't up to date, right?
But not really.
But yeah, okay. But let's just say it's a tiny bit.
Yeah, sure.
How much would their learning be affected if there was no planning? A huge amount.
Yeah. Or if you had to do your planning at the weekend when you were burned out because you used all your time this week.
So it's as simple as what has the biggest impact on the children?
That's interesting.
But it's within the realms of what the policy is for your school. Yeah. Because if there's a policy at a school which is causing you to be burnt out, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
However, if you can afford to have this attitude, then have this attitude. I know that I need to update my displays. Okay. But the only time that will happen is if I get into school early. And when I say early, I mean before 7:30. Or if I stay at school late.
Yeah.
And do you know what?
Lose your time with your son.
Exactly. When I've done all my stuff, like my planning's done, cool. Next week we'll run. That's fine. All my resources are printed. Cool. That's done. I could spend 45 minutes doing a display now. Or I could go home and see Rory and, cook dinner properly.
Yeah. Because you've already worked. Let's be clear here.
Yeah.
You're not doing this at 3:00.
No.
You're doing this at, I'm no longer paid for my job because I've done 10 hours today.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't need to stay. There's nothing compelling me to stay other than I'm going above and beyond.
So the macro thing there was, have a hierarchy, but I wanted to be really specific because I want these tips to be helpful.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Having hierarchy is the main thing, and that can be with anything. But very specifically, if you want to start off somewhere, start with your PPA. Have a list of things and stick to it, what's important. And if something doesn't get done, it doesn't get done.
So I'm an SLT member. I've just listened to this because I listened to the podcast.
Yep.
And I think, that's a really good, actually. I want to encourage this culture in my school.
Sure.
So what I'm going to do is something I read about on the forum the other day, and I was like, I'll bring this up sometime. someone was mentioning how their SLT are coming around to monitor how PPA time is being spent to help them make it more effective.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really interesting because I could imagine two scenarios, right?
Yeah.
I can imagine one scenario where it's a nice SLT team thinking they're doing something nice to help their staff just be more efficient so they can avoid burnout, and which I don't think is very likely. And there was the other side of me that was like, oh no, it's just a classic draconian Academy Trust CEO coming down and being like, nope, we're gonna tell people what to do in PPA. So just to be clear, PPA is undirected time. The school are not allowed in any circumstance to direct you as to the tasks that you do or complete in your PPA. It's sacred time. So what would you say to me? I'm SLT. I'm coming in. I'm saying, right, I'm going to help you guys be more efficient. Do you think that's okay?
I think it really depends on the context. Because I think if our SLT came in and said that, I'd be like, oh, cool. This is what we do.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really important in this situation for SLT to offer it.
Yeah.
To not demand it.
I'm coming to see your PPA.
Yeah. No. No matter how well intended it is, if it's demanded, to me, that's wrong.
Yeah.
If it's offered, and then you have that relationship with SLT, you might be like, yeah, God, because do you know what? I'm going to show you now. I get this 2-hour block of PPA, and I've got 2.5 hours of planning, half an hour of marking, and all those displays you asked me to do.
Yeah.
So how would you manage this? But then if it becomes a conversation of, okay, yeah, mate, we are asking too much of you. Do you know what? If the displays are that important to me as SLT, why don't we cut back on the planning? Okay, so for this term, we can use that history unit from last year. Okay, that's fine because we want to get this done for that reason. I'd be like, okay, because you've taken away from my burden. I'm still going to manage how I do it, but you've taken away from my burden now. And do you know what? I'll get it done.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a problem where some teachers perhaps aren't doing their job properly. Okay. And what I mean by that is, let's not be naive. We're very much on the side of teachers every single time, and we come across like we're against SLT. I really don't like that, because there are some fantastic SLT out there. But also on the flip side, we will say there are some teachers who don't get things done that need to get done. And there are some teachers who will completely waste their PPA time. We made a meme about it. You have your chats and stuff, but it's true. And if you are, however you want to do it, that's fine. But if you are wasting your PPA and then complaining about being burnt out, fix it first. If you're still then complaining about being burnt out, then there's an issue with the system. But I think when there's stuff you're in control of that you haven't first tried to change or help yourself with, it does lessen your credibility when you complain about stuff. So if you're using your PPA to the best of your intent, you can't then complain that you've got an hour's work after school. It's like, okay, well, you did have an hour and you just chatted about something for an hour. I'm not saying that you aren't burnt out. I'm just saying, as a teacher, if you want help with being burnt out, fix everything you can yourself first. Make your own bed in that kind of terms of that's the kind of thing.
You're right.
But that's what's going to help people. Make the most of your time. Then you can go X, Y, Z. Look, I've spent 2 hours planning my PPA. I've still got a mark after school, and those things you want me to get done, they've just gone down the list. So I'm sorry. I've had that conversation.
Or more likely, I spent my whole PPA planning, and I've only done about 20% of my planning.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you want me to do, guys? Because that's my whole dedicated time for this week for it.
I've had that conversation before.
4 or 5 hours of planning left.
I need to do these 2 reports, these 3 reports, and I've said to. I will do it. I promise. It's part of my job. It's my profession. Of course, I'll do this.
Yeah.
When I can.
Well, here's the reality. Right now, this week, I've got about 8 hours of planning to do.
Yeah.
For next week.
Yeah.
I've got to get it done. It has to be done, and I've just got to do it. And it's like that's 4 weeks of PPA.
Yeah.
I never would have got that done in school anyway.
Yeah.
So it's there are things that are just broken. Well, it leads on nicely to my last point, and this is not a big point really to talk about, but we can mention it.
It's a good one. It's like a bonus 6th point.
Yeah, it kind of goes on from what you're just saying, and that is speak up. Talk to people, but talk to the right people. That's the problem that I see a lot of the time, and the problem I've made, and I still make all the time now. Everyone loves a good moan.
You're really good at this.
What, as in speaking?
As in doing this point.
I do both.
No, but you're really good at it, and you know what? You can have a rod for your own back sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you can get known as the person who, you complain and again, you're moaning. But do you know what? What do you do then? What do you mean?
I'll tell you why I've got better at it at least. So. You might speak. So if you're burning out, and like Dylan said, you kind of put in place the things you're doing everything you can do to not burn out. You're not just sat there wasting your PPA or sitting after school talking to your partner teacher for 2 hours and then saying, I've got so much marking to do, when you could have done it in that 2 hours. You know what I mean? If you're already doing your job effectively and you're burning out, speak to the right people. Actually go to your head teacher. Don't just go to your TA who you know will just lap up everything you say and like fuel you a bit more, or that other teacher in the school that's pissed off about something that you can go to and you know they're going to vent with you, and then you can both be like, yeah, we hate this school. That is good to do sometimes because you do need to vent, but also do actually raise the point in a formal, professional way to the people who could change it. And then one of two things will happen. They'll change it or they won't. And then you're justified in your moaning.
Yeah.
And actually then there's a real problem there. And then it can become a wider school issue that you tackle as a staff team. I don't know how it will go from there. That's up to you and your school. But if you don't at least try to tell the right people, then can you expect anything to change? And it's happened to me lots of times in my career. Earlier on in my career, I'd get very riled up about stuff. And I'd let it get to me too much. And then what I'd end up doing is I'd send an email to SLT or the head teacher. And it was a pissy email. And it would come across as a pissy, rude email.
Then you're on the back foot straight away.
And then, that wasn't good. And over the years, I've learned to, one, stop emailing and just go and talk to people as much as possible.
And then write it up
back
formally.
it up as an email, just to say, just thank you for talking to me. Here are the points I raised.
Yeah.
And two, just if I do write an email, actually just be professional about it. You might be pissed off, but do you know what? The SLT might also just not know, because most of the time people moan behind their backs and don't actually tell them. And the amount of times I've said something to SLT and they've been like, oh, thank you for telling me that. I didn't realise that everyone was thinking this across the school. I didn't even know this was a problem. Thanks.
And then it gets fixed usually.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but what I mean is, like, at least then it's a conversation.
Exactly.
At least then it's out in the open.
So I don't know. That's my last point. Speak up, tell the correct people, and actually expect help as well. Don't expect nothing. If they're not doing anything, then you can take it further.
Now, these tips aren't automatically going to solve burnout because, like we said, there are external factors contributing massively to teacher burnout. I think these are really sensible first steps that we've taken have helped us. That hopefully you guys can take as well. You might do them all, you might do none of them. Try them out.
Can I just say one thing I did that's not related to these steps, but it might be good to hear. One time, I really, really did burn out. I was working in a 1-form entry school, year 6 lead, the year 6 teacher, and I was trying to do some curriculum stuff as well.
But it was a brand new, there was nothing there.
It was the first ever year 6. There was no planning to go off. It was all from scratch. I absolutely burnt out. So do you know what I did? I quit and I went to another school.
Yep.
And you know what? That's okay sometimes. Yep. You can just cut your losses. Someone else might have come in and done that, and maybe their burnout threshold's higher, and they relished in it. They did like going above and beyond, like Dylan was talking about earlier. But for me, at that time, in that context of my life, at that moment, I couldn't do it. I burned out. And rather than just sticking it through and...
You became a failure.
Even more stressed. I go, what?
You became a failure.
A failure? I thought you said a fairway. I was like, what are you talking about? We're getting golf involved.
No.
Yeah. But it's, joking. And you might be sat there thinking, oh, but my school will block all of these things. Okay, maybe the school's a problem.
That's
maybe you need to leave.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Nice one. Well, there are our top tips, guys. Hopefully they help you. We're going to go have a quick jingle, and we've got that game and that F-word story. Right, Dylan, what are you talking about with the F word? I couldn't, but we did the jingle, and he turned to me so seriously, like puppy dog eyes, like, what's the F word jingle? This is his memory, guys, by the way. I don't know. Do you remember what we talked about?
No,
this whole okay.
I honestly have no idea.
Right, at the start, guys, if you do have a memory longer than a goldfish, unlike Hayden, you might remember at the start we talked about doing cuts because I kept saying the F word.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, and I said, do you want to hear the F word story? To you.
Did you?
Yes, and you said no, and I laughed, and then said, I'll tell you later.
Oh, I remember now. It's
a very brief F-word story. When you train as a teacher, if you deciding to go into that avenue of going to university for a year to do PGC like I did, you have to do some days in school first just to know that it's what you want to do. It's just to weed out people who are basically just saying, oh yeah, I'll do that. You got to go and do 10 days in a school. Yeah. So I did 5 days at my old school and 5 days at a different local school that I'd never been into before. In the different local school that I'd never been into before, you got to remember, I'm just some 20-year-old Thanet kid. I must admit, maybe it's because I've got Northerners as family. Swearing's just a part of our lingo. Yeah. Okay, it's just the way we talk. Hayden and I, when we're not in school, when we're not even when we did a podcast sometimes,
we try not to.
I swear like nothing else, and I'm trying not to now around Rory, obviously. However, I went into a school and, I was just this extra body. You know the type, just straight out of school, no experience with kids whatsoever, a burden, if anything, in the classroom, a complete burden. So there was this afternoon and I got sent out to play some games with some kids. Looking back now, they were just probably trying to get rid of me. And they're like, these kids, get them out of the classroom. Oh, and Dylan can go with them. We're playing Snakes and Ladders. Okay?
Right.
So I'm going to ask you to beep this. Okay? So this is going to
All right, okay. Yeah.
We're playing Snakes and Ladders.
You didn't swear at the kids, did you?
And we were playing Snakes and Ladders, right? And I was losing. Then I got ahead of the kid. You know, Snakes and Ladders. It's up and down. I landed on a snake. Damn it! And then he was on a ladder. Oh bloody hell! And I was on the last row about to beat him. And I rolled it. I rolled a 4, right? I rolled a 4 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I went across 96, 97. Landed on a snake. And I went, oh f. And the kid went, what did you just say? And I was like, oh dear. I was like, no, you didn't. No. I was like, yeah. I said, oh dear. No, you did. You swore. No, shut up, kid.
Yeah.
I was like,
I've not even started this career yet.
Me thinking my career was over already.
Yeah.
Because I was annoyed that
so
a 7-year-old was about to beat me.
That's so funny. I love that. It happens. And I'd like to think that we're not the only 2 people that have accidentally sworn in front of children in 9 years. But it has happened. You know, there's been a couple of times in my career where I've just accidentally,
of course,
maybe just been too comfortable in what I'm saying, or you know, it's usually when I'm with kids that are just really nice and really like just chilled out kids that you can be normal around, and I've just accidentally said something. Oh god! You tell the head teacher like, oh no, I've done this, and they're usually like, it's fine.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
It's a word.
That's
like,
the only thing. Obviously, I told the teacher at the end, and she was like, "Don't worry about it," and it was all sorted.
If a
just
parent
be open.
complains, we'll just say, yeah, it was an accident. It happened.
Yeah, of course.
As if they've never heard these words before. Anyway, it's rubbish. Yeah, that's funny.
But that was my effort. So I just remember thinking, I'm done. This career's finished.
Yeah,
I'm done.
So what was the F word story? Anyway, we're going to finish.
Right, guys, here are top tips for.
You haven't done your tips yet, have you?
No. You've forgotten them. You've forgotten the in-between bits of your tips. Anyway, you got a game, Hayden. Let's finish it off. We're not done a game in ages.
It's a really quick.
Is it a game? Is it a game?
It's more like a theoretical thing.
No, it's Hayden, so it's obviously not a game.
It's not a proper game. But anyway, it's just I saw this online and I thought this would be funny to say.
Okay,
to
cool.
right,
Not seen this. Completely blind.
Okay, so ready?
Yep.
You can all play along.
Thank you.
You can now.
Thanks for telling them.
Yeah, they can.
Listeners, you can
Because they
listen.
can think about it as well. They can't just listen. They can play.
Go on.
You have developed a new power.
I have.
You're the only person in the world who's got this power. Okay,
It's called Mole Man.
Mole Man.
Got 3 moles, baby.
It's got moles for nipples. So you can now see a number
of moles.
This could be your answer. You can now see a number. Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Go on.
You can now see a number above everybody's head.
Okay.
Only you can see this number, and only you have this power.
Yep.
What would you like?
How many moles do they have on their bodies?
It's what would you like the number to display?
Oh, that's really cool.
Okay, so you get to choose what it is. But one thing, you can't change this.
Yeah.
So
okay. And it's always true. It's
always true. So you guys can all see a number above someone's head.
Oh, that's interesting.
What would you pick that number to display?
Oh, anything ever.
It could be about them. It could be the number could be anything.
Oh my gosh.
But there'll be an individual number per person above their head. What do you want it to be?
The number of moles.
I don't know. It's the moles.
That's really good. Can I see my own one?
Yeah.
Oh, because I was going to.
Yeah. You can see your own.
So
number.
have a look in the mirror. I've got my number.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's that classic one of just how many minutes they have left to live.
Like when you're gonna die.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Because that's such a weird thing. I think that's a big part of our culture where it's like, weird that we just accept. We have no idea. It could be any time. And I just don't think about it. But I think I'd be that can't be it because I become obsessed. What about you?
I don't know. There's so many things. You could go down the emotional route, couldn't you? Of like how many hugs they're going to give.
Oh, how would that be useful?
No, I know. But you could do anything like that.
Yeah.
But you could also be like the classic thing of like, I don't know, how much money they're going to make in their life.
Yeah.
How many times they farted today?
Here's one.
Like anything.
How many times more will they say their own name before they die? Right? Because if mine's anything other than 0, I'm never going to die. I won't say my name.
Clever.
Well, one left. Okay. Yeah. My name is.
Yeah, but knowing that, then it will just say 0.
No. No, because eventually when I want to die, I'm like, okay, Dylan.
That's just your final. What were his last words? We must write them down. Oh, his own name. Selfish idiot.
How many times have they said, I've had a great life, thanks all for the memories? Everyone's got one above there.
Yeah. Yours is just Dylan. Yeah.
I don't know. What do I want to know about people? I guess.
How many hours they think would be weird to see in a day?
How many times they streamed the Teach, Sleep, Repeat podcast?
Yeah, could be.
The rating they gave for the Teach, Sleep, Repeat podcast. We can see who gave the 1.
Finally.
It was you, Hayden's mum.
Yeah. So it's
That's
cool,
a good
isn't it?
question.
I don't know what I'd pick. Yeah, there's so many things.
Tell you what, that was a great game.
All right. The number is your satisfaction level 1 to 10 of my games.
Do you know what a game is? That's just a question.
Shut up.
I don't know. Those the answer. I reckon.
Can we make it a poll or a question with the Spotify?
Yeah, we can make it a poll. Yeah, Hayden. We can make it a
Not
poll,
a poll,
where
the Q&A.
we predetermine the 2 answers everyone will say.
Yeah. Who has to vote?
Yeah, we'll do Q&A. We'll do Q&A. And
Tell us your answers.
We'll get about 2 replies and then we'll just ignore it. Oh my gosh, I actually put something out.
Oh, what is it,
on our
darling?
Instagram earlier, and I said we're about to go live with the podcast. So we'll finish off with this.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
This is going to go. This is going to backfire so horribly.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Because I thought to myself, do you know what? I'll just see, because we've got about 2,500 followers now on our Instagram, and we do get good.
What's our Instagram?
It's at Teach Seat Repeat Podcast.
Oh, okay.
So we get good interaction on our podcast. We get good votes. We get
Instagram,
loads, like hundreds, podcasts on our Instagram. So I just put a story out there right before we started saying, first person to reply here gets a shout out.
Didn't you do this literally like 20 seconds before we started recording?
Yeah. So first person to reply here gets a shout out. You've got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
We have 3 replies.
Oh, who's the first one?
So I'll give all 3 because it's only 3 replies.
Okay.
So I'll give all 3.
All right.
First one of our previous guests, the Teacher's PT.
Hey,
go on then. There you go,
out.
Martin. If you want to hear about Martin, he's smashing it on Instagram at the minute.
Big
Lots
time.
of really funny memes. Go and follow him. He is at the Teacher's PT. Especially if you're a teacher, go and find out how to stay healthy and fit and have a laugh as well. Next one is L Clark 82, who simply put an emoji with her hand up. So L Clark 82, there you go.
Hey.
I don't know your full name. Is it just L? I don't know. Miss Clark 82, whoever you are. There's your shout out. Thanks for listening. And the last one is my mum. And she's put. Okay, right. If you can guess the one word my mum's
for
put,
God's sake.
right? This is a game.
How would I guess
If you can
this?
guess the one word my mum's put, you can lead the next week's podcast.
How could I possibly guess
Shut
that?
up and guess.
What? I don't know.
One word.
Undurfed.
No, she's put gangster.
Gangster.
What are you
Your mum
talking
is a
about,
gangster.
Mum?
What did,
There you go.
what did,
Fiona 8372.
what did my mum put?
Your mum, she put. Why is my name spelled weird? I don't know.
That's for a future episode. The name of my mum. It's a good story, actually. It started next week.
I've actually here you go. Here's Hayden's memory because I've told the story on this podcast before.
Told it. See, go back and check it out.
Right, guys, we're
Told
gonna finish
that
there.
story.
Hayden started this again by saying there might be a short one today. No, it's me and you, Hayden. We're gonna chat.
We waffled about crap. Okay, hope you enjoyed our tips though, and we do live and breathe them, and it has helped with our teacher burnout.
Follow us on Instagram, give our podcast a follow, and give it a rating, please. And why not share it with a friend? We're 1 year old. Bye.